It is 2 o'clock in the morning inside a casino in Las Vegas, or it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You genuinely cannot tell. The carpet glows, the slot machines chime, and the lights hold steady at some hour that does not exist outside. There are no windows anywhere, and on every wall, in every direction, there is no clock. Everyone knows why. The casino hides the time so that you forget the time, and once you forget it, you keep playing. It is one of the most famous facts about casinos, and it usually arrives with a partner, the story about oxygen being pumped through the vents to keep tired gamblers awake. Here's the strange part. One of those stories is pure fiction, invented by a novelist. The other is true, but the explanation everyone repeats is not the one the industry gives. And underneath both of them sits a piece of science that is stranger than either story. Start with the oxygen, because that myth has a birth certificate. In 1978, Mario Puzo, the author of The Godfather, published a novel called Fools Die. In it, the owner of a fictional Las Vegas casino keeps a control panel wired to his private suite. In the early morning hours, when the players grow tired, he floods the gaming floor with pure oxygen and revives them like puppets. That scene was fiction, and it stayed fiction. Pumping oxygen into a crowded building full of cigarettes and electrical wiring would not create loyal gamblers. It would create a legendary fire. Fire officials have said as much for decades, and casino operators have denied the practice for just as long. The story survives anyway, because it feels like something a casino would do. The clocks, though. The clocks are real. Walk the floor of almost any casino on Earth and you will not find a single one. To understand why, you have to meet the man who wrote the rulebook. His name is Bill Friedman. He was a gambling addict who climbed out of the habit and then went looking for its machinery. He ended up running 2 struggling casinos on the Las Vegas Strip, the Castaways and the Silver Slipper, and he turned both of them around. His method was research. Over the years, he studied roughly 80 casinos across Nevada, hunting for the design features that the crowded ones shared and the empty ones lacked. He compressed what he found into a textbook of more than 600 pages, built around 13 principles. Put the gambling equipment right at the entrance, keep the ceilings low, keep the sight lines short, arrange the machines in a maze so that every path bends past another game. Decoration is wasted money because every glance at a chandelier is a glance away from a bet. In his ideal building, the architecture disappears and only the game remains. And the missing clocks? Here is the first surprise. Friedman himself calls the conspiracy version a myth. In his account, operators did not strip out the clocks in the daylight to trick anyone. The serious players demanded it. They came to the casino to step outside their ordinary lives for a night, and nothing drags you back into ordinary life like a wall clock ticking. The house was not hiding the time from the players. The players were hiding from the time, and the house was happy to oblige. For roughly 20 years, that philosophy ruled the industry. Low, dark, winding rooms made money, so low, dark, winding rooms were built. Then, one man broke every rule at once. His name was Roger Thomas, and in the late 1990s he partnered with the casino developer Steve Wynn. Thomas looked at the maze and saw the opposite of what Friedman saw. In his view, people do not place big, risky bets when they feel trapped and confused. They place big bets when they feel safe, relaxed, and important. He argued that a room changes the person standing inside it, that people feel glamorous in glamorous surroundings and rich in rich ones. So, at his resorts, the ceilings went up and were draped in silk. The sightlines opened, fine art went on the walls, fresh flowers went on the tables, and daylight came back through skylights. Thomas even installed clocks, beautiful antique ones. Designers now call this approach the playground style, and on the only scoreboard a casino respects, it beat the maze. The resorts that tore up the old rulebook became some of the most profitable gambling floors in the world, which leaves a puzzle. If the maze was never necessary, and a casino can hang clocks on the wall and win more than ever, what is actually eating the time? Researchers who study gambling have a name for the answer. They call it the machine zone. It is a trance-like state, documented in laboratory studies in which a player's attention to time passing into nearly everything outside the game quietly dims. Players in experiments report losing track of time at a slot machine within minutes, whether or not a clock is anywhere in sight. The zone does not live in the wallpaper or the ceiling height. It lives in the rhythm of the game itself. A modern slot machine completes a full cycle of bet, suspense, and result every few seconds, and that loop repeats hundreds of times an hour. One anthropologist who spent years studying machine gambling described it as an activity that can suspend a person's sense of time, of space, and even of the value of money. The building was never the trap. The game is. So the famous fact is true, and also beside the point. Casinos really do hide the clocks, mostly because their best customers prefer it that way. But think about what you carry onto that floor. There is a clock in your pocket right now, more accurate than anything a casino ever removed, and the industry earns more than it ever has. Time does not vanish because nobody shows it to you. It vanishes because, for a little while, you stop asking. The next time you find yourself in a room with no clocks, the interesting question is not where they went. It is what, in that room, someone hopes you will never look up from.